Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today, I'm going to do my review of AEW's Dynamite. Starting off tonight, we have MJF and Adam Page face-to-face in the middle of the ring. Both have microphones in hand. MJF says that he intends to make Page very angry. Page then mocks MJF. Page says that MJF doesn't have a shot at the AEW title. MJF says that Page is the problem, not him. MJF said he's going to show the world who Page really is, and Page is a fraud. Page says that MJF doesn't have what it takes. MJF says that he will sign his contract, and it looks like it is official. It will be Adam Page defending the AEW World Heavyweight Championship against MJF at Forbidden Door. Definitely looking forward to that matchup between Adam Page and MJF. Moving on from that, we have Jon Moxley taking on Kevin Knight. A little bit of a grudge match here. It was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Moxley and Knight, with Moxley keeping the pace of the match. Kevin Knight and Moxley both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Moxley applying a submission hold on Kevin Knight in the middle of the ring, ultimately securing the win. After the match, the Death Riders attack Kevin Knight, as well as Speedball Mike Bailey. Darby Allin is here. Darby then attacks Wheeler Yuta. Claudio then comes out of nowhere, attacks Darby Allin. Claudio then puts Darby in the body bag in the middle of the ring. Ospreay then comes out of nowhere, attacks Claudio. Ospreay says that it will be his friends versus the Death Riders in a lights-out steel cage match at Forbidden Door. Some interesting stuff there between Will Ospreay and the Death Riders, which we will talk about at the end of the show. Moving on from that, we have pretty much tag team matchup, a 6 women's tag team matchup, if you will. It's Mercedes Moné teaming up with Sky Blue and Thekla, taking on Alex Windsor, Queen Aminata, and Willow Nightingale. The match itself was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Windsor, Aminata, and Willow keeping the pace of the match. Windsor hits a Blue Thunder Bomb in the middle of the ring, followed by Windsor applying a sharpshooter in the middle of the ring. This ultimately secures the win for her team, and the winners of the match are Windsor, Aminata, and Willow Nightingale. After the match, Toni Storm and Athena were sitting in the crowd throughout the match. They end up duking it out throughout the crowd, and Moné then ends up attacking Alex Windsor. Some interesting stuff there between Toni Storm and Athena leading up to their matchup at Forbidden Door. Moving on from that, we have Adam Copeland taking on Stokely Hathaway. The match itself, man, I thought it was an awful match. It was okay, probably comedy at best. It's a glorified squash match. Stokely tries to spear Copeland multiple times to no avail. Copeland ends up hitting a spear of his own, but FTR end up showing up. They want the match to be called off, but Copeland ends up attacking FTR. Copeland then goes for a spear, but Stokely throws powder into Copeland's face. The match ends in disqualification. FTR then get involved by attacking Copeland. All of a sudden, Christian Cage music hits. He comes out. He saves Adam Copeland. Copeland then hits a spear on Kip Sabian. Then Copeland and Cage are standing in the middle of the ring. Copeland and Cage then both pretty much hug it out in the middle of the ring. The crowd erupts, and looks like we're getting the reunion, the long-awaited reunion between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. And we'll talk more about this and how I feel about this at the end of the podcast, because trust me, folks, I got a lot to say about this shit. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's the Young Bucks teaming up with Kyle Fletcher and Josh Alexander to take on Brody King, Hologram, Ishii, and Takahashi. The match itself was a decent match. Back and forth matchup with both teams, with Brody King, Hologram, Ishii, and Takahashi keeping the pace of the match, with Takahashi hitting the finish, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Brody King, Hologram, Ishii, and Takahashi. Moving on from that, we have Swerve Strickland. He is greeted by Renee. Renee's interviewing Swerve on the ramp. Swerve says that he is hurt, and that he visited, obviously, the doctors backstage. Swerve then talks about Forbidden Door, and said that nothing's going to stop him from having the match against Okada. Speaking of Okada interrupts Swerve and Renee. Okada says that Swerve has no chance to beat him at Forbidden Door. Okada then calls Swerve a bitch, and this will pretty much piss Swerve off, and Swerve ends up pushing Okada, and AEW security separate both Swerve and Okada. Moving on from that, we had the Death Riders walking backstage. Renee then tries to interview Jon Moxley. She lets Moxley know that Will Ospreay now has Tanahashi, a part of his team, leading up to their cage match at Forbidden Door. This obviously surprised Jon Moxley. Moxley then walks to the Jobbers locker room, where he greets Matt and Nick Jackson, who were sitting in the Jobbers locker room. So it looks like Jon Moxley, for what we understand, was trying to have the Young Bucks join him in this matchup at Forbidden Door. And it looks like that's exactly what we're going to be getting. It looks like it's going to be the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, and Gabe Kidd, teaming up with the Young Bucks to take on Will Ospreay, Darby Allin, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi at Forbidden Door. Some interesting stuff there from that situation, which we'll talk about here later at the end of the podcast. We also have the announcement of the reunion of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage to take on Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian at Forbidden Door. Moving on from that, we got our main event of AEW Dynamite. It is the Ops taking on LFI. I thought it was a good match, back and forth matchup between both teams, with the Beast Mortos and Hobbs both exchanging in the middle of the ring. LFI was keeping the pace of the match, but Samoa Joe applies a submission hold in the middle of the ring, and your winners of the match due to submission are the Ops. Hats off to the Ops for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about, man, when it pertains to AEW Dynamite before I get the hell up out of here. And like I told you, man, I have a lot to say about this shit. I was not pleased with last night's show at all, for an abundance of reasons, man. I think last night's show was one of those situations where it was one of those things where, you throw something against the wall hoping it sticks. So let's start with the elephant in the room to start off with, Will Ospreay. Now, if you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, Will Ospreay came out to AEW, middle of the ring, had an interview, I believe it was with Tony Schiavone, where Ospreay stated that he is injured. He's suffering a back injury, a spine and neck injury. He has herniated disc in his back and his neck. That seemingly probably would put Will Ospreay on the shelf for quite some time. Now, there was rumors and speculation that Ospreay was going to do everything he can to be a part of this year's Forbidden Door that's taking place at the O2 Arena in England. That looks like that's going to be the case. Ospreay shows up last night. He ends up attacking Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. He calls out Jon Moxley. He wants to have a lights-out steel cage match against the Death Riders. Now, my issue with this is number one, I don't think it's wise, and I'm not a medical professional or anything else like that. I'm not a doctor. I don't think it's wise to put someone in a steel cage that has, basically a destroyed neck and a back, pretty much right now. I don't think it's a wise decision. Number one, if that was to be the case, then why did Will Ospreay 2-3 weeks ago announce on national television that he is suffering from these herniated disc in his neck and back? And why are we putting him in a match, in a steel cage match, lights out steel cage match, a few weeks later after he had made this announcement about his neck injury? To me, it made no sense whatsoever. And the issue that I have with this as well is Darby Allin. Not that I have the issue with Darby, but if you saw what happened on Dynamite last week, where Darby pretty much beat the shit out of Wheeler Yuta, he put him in a body bag. You see Wheeler Yuta in the middle of the parking lot. Marina Shafir and Jon Moxley pretty much walk up on Wheeler Yuta in this body bag. They unzip the body bag, and then attached to Wheeler Yuta's forehead was a sign or an envelope that said Forbidden Door on it. Now, seemingly, you would make an assumption that it would be Darby Allin one-on-one with Jon Moxley. That's not the case. Now we have Darby Allin a part of this makeshift tag team with Ospreay, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, and Will Ospreay to take on the Death Riders, Gabe Kidd, and the Young Bucks in a lights-out steel cage match. I have a lot of issues with this. Like I mentioned earlier with Will Ospreay, I mean, Darby Allin, I've made it abundantly clear about Darby Allin. Darby Allin needs to get his ass back to work. You've been gone off the scene, bro. You climb Mount Everest. Yeah, it's a great accomplishment. Great. But you've been off the scene for months. You know what I mean? Like, you need to get some matches underneath your belt and see where we go from here. Jon Moxley should have took some time off after he had lost the AEW World Championship against Adam Page at All In. I don't know why we've been seeing an abundance of Jon Moxley here lately, especially after the matchup he had with Adam Page. Moxley should have took some time off. At least a month off. Regroup and come back stronger than ever. No, we continuously keep seeing Jon Moxley week in and week out on AEW television since he has lost an AEW World title. Doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, the situation with Ospreay, it should have been Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley at Forbidden Door. Hands down. Putting Ospreay in a steel cage match, or a match at all for that matter, with the injured neck and back that he has right now, and how bad it's really injured. If it is that bad, I mean, it could be a ruse at this point. Who the hell knows? But if his back and neck is that injured, and he has herniated disc in his back and neck, then why are we putting him in a match? Who's clearing him to have this matchup? What kind of medical team do we have here in AEW that's granting him a medical release for him to be a part of this match? Now, I get it's a lights-out match. I understand that. But at the end of the day, if the guy's legitimately hurt, why are we putting him in a match? And a steel cage match, nonetheless. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense. And again, I'm going to reiterate, if that was the case, then why did Ospreay come out on television a couple weeks ago and state that he was severely injured? That he had a back injury and a neck injury. That was going to put him on the shelf for a little bit of time. It seems like that don't mean shit now. So we have that situation. The other thing I'll say about this is the addition of Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi. Now, we have not seen Kenny Omega or Kota Ibushi since All In. A lot of people were speculating that nobody knew what the hell Kenny Omega was going to do after the match he had with Okada. Myself included. And I think that was the biggest takeaway that I even mentioned about this matchup, or the matchup that took place at All In between Omega and Okada. What was going to happen to the loser in that match? Where were they going to go from there? Now we're seeing Omega join the likes of Will Ospreay and Darby Allin and Kota Ibushi to go up against the Death Riders and the Young Bucks, which makes no sense at all. To me, Kenny Omega, if he was to come back to AEW, I figured he would want another opportunity at the Unified Championship that's being currently held by Okada. Seems like Omega doesn't give a shit about that championship. He wants to now go up against Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks for some apparent reason. To me, it makes no sense. We haven't seen Omega since All In. We haven't seen Kota Ibushi since All In. But no, we're bringing Kenny Omega back to put him in this lights-out steel cage match for no rhyme or reason. Which makes, it makes no sense at all. So there's that whole issue. The other issue that I have is the Adam Copeland-Christian Cage situation. AEW fumbled the biggest reunion in pro wrestling history. One of the biggest reunions. We have not seen Edge and Christian team up together, I believe, since 2005. It's been about 20 years since these guys have teamed up. 2 decades. Then you have Edge and Christian reunite last night on national television in front of 1,500 people in the middle of, it's ridiculous. And meanwhile, there's been no real dialogue here between Copeland and Christian Cage this entire time. Except for Copeland telling Christian, hey, go home, figure your shit out, and find yourself. That's it. There's been no back and forth here between Copeland and Christian at all. Nothing. Nothing at all. Except for the one thing that Copeland had told Christian was to go find himself. That's it. Then we get to Dynamite last night. Cage comes out, saves Copeland from a beatdown from FTR. Meanwhile, there's been no dialogue between these two guys, and seemingly it seems like they have a reunion now. They're back together. So much so that Tony Khan announced, and the video package was shown, the marquee, if you will, that they're having their tag team matchup, their first ever tag team match together after 20 years against Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian. This was a huge fucking fumble from AEW last night. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. This was a huge fumble. These guys have not teamed up together in about pretty much 20 years. 2005, I believe. 20 years, man. And this is the shit that we got. Meanwhile, we have All Out taking place literally about 3 weeks after Forbidden Door, taking place, I believe, in Toronto, and both these guys are from Canada. You could have had something on the line where these guys could have reunited and went after the AEW Tag Team Championships all on the same night, and then hugged it out in Toronto. Imagine that moment for Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. No, we're going to get it on some random-ass Dynamite episode last night. It's fucking insane. You have one of the biggest reunions. One of the main reasons why Adam Copeland joined the fucking company to begin with was to ride off in the sunset and team up with Christian Cage, and then we get what we got last night. Come on, Brett. Wrestling is about storylines and moments. Do you imagine the goddamn moment we would have had with the reunion of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage taking place in Toronto, I believe, at this year's All Out? You could have just waited a couple more weeks for that shit. No, we get it. We had to pull the trigger on that last night. Wow. Mind you, that to me, if I was going to book this shit, I would have had Christian Cage take an L from Nick Wayne, because right now, I don't know what's going to happen with Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian after all this shit, to be honest with you. I really don't. I would have had Nick Wayne go over on Christian Cage and have Copeland save Cage and not Cage save Copeland. That's exactly how I would have done it. Now, I would have put Nick Wayne over so it puts him in a spotlight, It gets him on television on AEW, on Dynamite or Collision. I don't know what the hell is going to happen to Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian after this. If anything, they would probably have to win their matchup against Cage and Copeland at Forbidden Door. Because if they don't, you probably won't see Nick Wayne or, if not, Kip Sabian on Dynamite or Collision. To be honest, they'd probably be better off on Ring of Honor at this point. It does nothing for Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian at all. It doesn't. Nothing at all. And my thing is, like I said, wrestling is about storylines and moments. Could you imagine the moment of these guys reuniting in Toronto, I believe, for All Out? And they hug it out in Toronto. Imagine that. Imagine that moment in itself. No, we get it last night on some random ass episode of Dynamite. Come on, man. Like, what the fuck are we doing here, man? What are we doing here? Honestly, you couldn't just wait to reunite Edge and Christian, or Copeland and Cage. We got it last night, like I said, on some random ass episode of Dynamite. Come on, bro. Like, what the fuck are we doing here, man? And my thing is, AEW has, production meetings before Dynamite and Collision? I'd like to know the dumbass that came up with this fucking idea. Because whoever it was needs to be fucking fired. Seriously, man. You know, my general belief is that the AEW is so fucking clueless. It's crazy. Long-term booking's not there. Seemingly, it seems like AEW and Tony Khan doesn't give a rat's ass what the fans think. Clearly. I mean, what the fuck are we doing here, man? Really? One of the biggest reunions in pro wrestling history. You're gonna spoil it like that? For Dynamite. And you don't even let the shit marinate, then you already have this marquee coming up. Oh, it's going to be Copeland and Cage teaming up for the first time and taking on Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne. You won't even let the shit marinate. You weren't even building that storyline between Copeland and Cage. You said, you know what, fuck it, here we are. Took, 2 weeks for this shit to go down? I mean, look how long the shit's been between MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. 6 weeks? We get 2 weeks of Copeland and Cage, and there was no dialogue between these guys or nothing. Except for Copeland saying, hey, Christian, go home and go find your damn self and come back. And maybe we'll talk. Other than that, we haven't got shit between Copeland and Cage. Nothing. I mean, come on, man. Like, seriously, bro. But AEW has production meetings, right? Come on, bro. Jesus fucking Christ. They need a fucking writing team like people need oxygen at this fucking point. It's pathetic, man. Biggest reunion. I mean, these guys have not teamed up, I believe, in almost 20 fucking years. And that's what we got last night? Come on, bro. Come on. Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, honestly. What the fuck are we doing here? What are we doing? Honestly. And then, on top of that shit, here's another fucking thing that goes along with this shit. We see Swerve Strickland last night. Renee asked, oh, I saw you in the trainer's room. Looks like you're having an injury. It looks like Swerve didn't deny the fact that he's injured. So it looks like he's going to this matchup at Forbidden Door against Okada injured, with an injured knee. Okada calls him a bitch, and then they have a scuffle. There's been no storyline at all here between Swerve and Okada, except for Okada calling Swerve a bitch. That's all it's been for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Is Okada calling Swerve a bitch. That mean for what? And my thing was that when this match was even initially fucking announced, it made no sense at all. What does Swerve got to do with Okada, and what does Okada got to do with fucking Swerve? Nothing. So, Okada and Swerve have nothing to do with each other at all at this goddamn point. But Okada's rebuttal was, oh, well, you cost the Young Bucks their match and all this other shit, yada, yada. Now I'm going to challenge you. Meanwhile, it should have been Kenny Omega returning to go back after Okada for a rematch for the Unified Championship. No, we're going to put Kenny Omega in a steel cage match that literally, I don't know why they even slotted him in there with Kota Ibushi to take on the Death Riders and the Young Bucks. I mean, seriously, bro, what the fuck are we doing here? Seriously, what are we doing here? The logic gaps in this company is unfucking real. And then you'll have people out here backing this shit up. Oh, it was a great, very, very, very good episode of Dynamite. Get the fuck out of here, man. Seriously. And people are saying, oh, AEW's, they're getting better with their ratings. What, 700,000? Okay. What happened to the 1.2 million or 1.1 million ratings that they used to get? What about the fact that they were selling out arenas? What happened to that shit? You sit here and say that AEW is doing so well, but we set the standard at 700,000 views for AEW when it used to be 1 million views for Dynamite. They used to sell out arenas with 10 to 12,000 people. Now we can't even sell out these smaller venues like the Paragon Ballroom or whatever the hell it was in Chicago that holds about 1,500 fucking people. Meanwhile, we get to Dynamite last night where it should have held 1,500 people. We can't even sell that out. And you got the biggest reunion in wrestling history, or one of the biggest reunions of all time, in front of what? 1,400 people? In some music hall? In Cincinnati? Come on, man. Get the fuck out of here. And people are saying that this company is legitimately, they're in the positive. They're doing well. How can you fucking judge it on them doing well when the fact that they have residencies for their Dynamite episodes, number one, or Collision. Two, the ballrooms or music halls that they're going to that's only seating 1,100 to 1,500 people, they can't even sell out those smaller venues. Ticket sales are down. Ratings are not that great. Pay-per-view buys are not up to what it used to be. But you're sitting there and have the audacity to say, AEW's, they're in the green, they're doing great, they're doing this, they're doing that. Bro, that's a bunch of fucking bullshit. Honestly. I think people need to wake up and smell the goddamn coffee, man. I'm not sitting here saying that WWE is this elaborate fucking place and they're doing well either. For what it's worth, folks, 2025 for professional wrestling is in the goddamn toilet. From across the board. Whether it's WWE, Raw or SmackDown, or Dynamite and Collision. Across the board for 2025, pro wrestling has been in the shitter. Bottom line of it. And I'm not the only fucking person saying that. 2025 for wrestling has been in this shitter. From both sides of the fence, whether it's AEW or WWE. Storylines in WWE have been lacking. Shit's been going on in WWE. Nobody knows what the fuck's going on. You got Brock Lesnar returning. People were up in arms about that, myself included. We don't know. And we haven't seen Brock since SummerSlam, but he's scheduled to be on SmackDown or some shit here soon. So a lot of people are anticipating that shit. So, I mean, it's crazy. Then you got, what WWE's doing behind closed doors and the business side of things with, ESPN and all this other shit. I mean, TKO's doing a lot of shit with, the UFC. So there's a lot of shit going on right now with, the TKO group, if you will. But, AEW's, obviously no better. Honestly, for what it's worth, bro, I turn on Dynamite sometimes, and it's dreadful. And, I know WWE and their storylines are bad, but, AEW is borderline awful, man. The shit is getting worse and worse over the months, over the years, man. These past 2.5 years for AEW have been in the shit box. And my thing is this. You can look at the main event scene for AEW, and who's really a strong competitor really coming out of the main event scene for AEW? What, MJF? MJF should have been a part of the main event scene all this time. All this time. You're supposed to be building young superstars and building stars up for AEW, but you look at someone like Kevin Knight, where you just pretty much, shit the bed with him last night with Jon Moxley. So he goes in the back of the line. But you're supposed to be building younger talent for AEW for the foreseeable future. I don't see that being the case. I don't. AEW is getting worse, man. It is. You look at Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door is stacked up. It looks like it's going to be a great card. Yeah, but where's the story? Where's the story for these matches? And not for nothing, I don't give a shit if it starts at 2 or 3 o'clock. The rumor is going to be like 13, 14, 16 fucking matches for this goddamn event taking place for Forbidden Door. It's ridiculous, man. It's crazy. I told you guys before, and I'll tell you guys time and time again, I'll always and forever be a fan over quality over quantity. You give me 5 quality matches, solid. I don't need 16 goddamn matches that mean jack shit. To be honest, I'll easily take 5 to 6 matches that are quality matches over quantity any day of the goddamn week. AEW doesn't need to do that. It's fucking crazy. You're talking about an event that might take place around 2, 3 o'clock and might not end until about 10. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like I said, 13 to 16 fucking matches on this card. Why do we need so many fucking matches? Why? Because it's the Forbidden Door. It's New Japan. And here's the other fucking stickler, too. You have, situations about Karrion Kross and other free agents, Shayna Baszler. Everybody's talking about, Shayna might go to AEW. Karrion Kross. Why has Tony Khan not reached out to Karrion Kross? I'm going to be honest, folks. I'm a big fan of Kross. I think Kross and that whole situation with his contract is a shitty situation across the board. Absolutely. You look at Shayna Baszler. Baszler had made comments about, her being friends with Marina Shafir, Marina's obviously currently employed with AEW, and that Shayna Baszler wants to get back to wrestling. Great. But is AEW the place for them to go? I don't know, bro. I really don't, because the problem is they bring them over and then they're, in the back and catering doing nothing. And I'm sorry, for someone like Cross, a guy that has, very good creative mindset of where he sees his character going, having a mind like that for the business sitting in catering, bro, is just a waste of talent. It is. And the funny thing is a lot of people still consider this shit going on right now with Cross to be at work. And if it is, wow. I didn't think WWE would stoop that goddamn low. You just had Cross on Ariel Helwani's podcast telling people that, hey, this ain't a goddamn work. This is the real deal. That he did not re-sign his contract. Scarlett wasn't given a contract for WWE. Cross obviously was pissed about that. He wanted to see where his value was in the company and how they saw the value in him. They wouldn't even give him that answer. And I can tell you right now, just from outside the box looking in, they didn't obviously value you at all. They didn't give a shit about you at all. When you should have been pushed. Pushed. You look at that match with him and Sami Zayn. People were gravitated towards Cross. Cross was getting over. Cross was immensely over. Then you had that post-media scrum, they controlled media scrum, and the fans are chanting, "We want Cross." Then you hear Triple H saying, "Oh, no, you guys want, we want Brock. Oh, yeah, you guys got Brock." Completely undermining what the fans were saying with them saying that we want Cross. I don't even think Hunter wanted Cross in WWE. Oh, he brought him back. Yeah, for what? After they let him go, and Hunter brought him back. What the hell did he do with Cross that was so, oh my God, appealing? Oh yeah, they brought Cross back, and he was multi-time U.S. champion or Intercontinental champion or multi-time world champion. They didn't do a goddamn thing with carrying Cross. Nothing. And not for nothing, if I was carrying Cross, with all due respect, I wouldn't even entertain the idea of going back to that fucking place, bro. Because it gets to a point where if they don't see value in you, you're just holding on to a dream that's just not there. And I'm not telling people not to go after their dream, but you also have to be a little bit realistic. Clearly, they don't see value in you, and they don't see that you bring any kind of benefit whatsoever to the company. So go somewhere else where you actually are benefited and that you're actually wanted. You know what I'm saying? People are going to WWE like it's the best ticket in town, but sometimes it's not. It's not. I'm not saying AEW is either. Some people are saying, oh, he might go back to TNA. Maybe. But how is that going to work with the relationship between WWE and TNA? Knowing they just released Cross and how the contract situation played out the way it did. You know what I mean? It's going to be very telling to see what's next for Karrion Kross. It really, truly is. And a lot of people are anticipating where he's going to go. Shayna, if Shayna Baszler decides to go to AEW, would it be a bad thing? No. I think she would fit perfectly in AEW. I said the same thing about Dakota Kai. But the problem with it is where do you put Shayna Baszler? For once, and I'll tell you guys this right now. I'm happy that Adam Page is walking around the new AEW World Champion because it was desperately needed. We need to see that championship on Dynamite and Collision week in and week out. Absolutely. I'm not saying the guy needs to wrestle every week, but it's great to see the AEW title on AEW television. Absolutely. But I'm going to be brutally honest here, man, and I might be on the mountain all by myself. I think honestly the one thing that's saving AEW's ass right now is the AEW's women's division. To be honest with you. And I gotta give benefit to where the benefit belongs to, man. I gotta give it to Mercedes Moné, and I damn sure gotta give credit to Toni Storm. Toni Storm is carrying this company on her goddamn back. She is the best thing going right now, the biggest thing going for AEW, in my honest opinion. Absolutely, because no matter whether people like her or they love her, people want to see Toni Storm, and she's doing a hell of a job right now in AEW. This is the best Toni Storm that we have ever seen in her entire in-ring career. And she is just destroying the game right now, man. I personally believe that AEW's women's side of things is what's keeping this company afloat. To be honest. It might be a hot take for a lot of people, but I think that's what's keeping this company above water. There was rumors of speculation that, AEW's TV deal, it might be a lot different after this TV deal is over. Yeah, probably will be. And rightfully so. I think Warner Media and Time Warner would be stupid to give AEW some substantial amount of money after the past 2 years of AEW that we got in. The ratings have declined. They're not selling out venues. They're not selling out arenas anymore. They're going to smaller venues where they're not even selling out that. Pay-per-view buys are down. Attendance is down. I mean, you have to look at those metrics and realize, you know what, maybe the juice ain't worth the squeeze. We're not going to give them this abundant amount of money this time around because AEW obviously is not hitting the metrics that we want AEW to hit. It's a very good possibility they might not receive the money that they think they're going to get when their next TV rights deal comes up. It's a very high possibility. And quite frankly, I would not be mad at all from Time Warner and Warner Media if they kind of lowballed AEW as far as TV rights deal is concerned after this one is up. I don't think they've earned or deserve that money. I just don't. I don't believe it at all. Like I said, the metrics in itself right now, and the way AEW is looking from an entire business standpoint, it's not looking good, man. You know, attendance is down. They go to smaller venues. Those venues are not even getting sold out. They're probably filling maybe 11 to 1,300 people max in these smaller venues that they're going to, whether it's, you know, music halls or what have you. They're not even selling out at all. At all. I think the two things that are keeping this company afloat right now is the AEW's women's roster and their pay-per-views. That's it. Pay-per-views is keeping this company afloat. Absolutely. And again, they're going by the traditional pay-per-view model where they're still charging people $50 a pop to watch these AEW pay-per-views, which at times it is tough, not from a financial standpoint, but from just a storyline standpoint, because the storyline's not there for the fan that's spending their hard working money to invest in purchasing this event, to be invested and be happy to watch these matches. It's really hard, to be honest with you. I think Tony Khan just doesn't give a shit about story. I mean, he has the audacity in an interview to say, oh, AEW is doing well. They're telling some of the best stories of all time in 2025. That's bullshit, to be honest with you. I had not seen a compelling storyline in AEW for quite some time. It's been a while. Something to really gravitate towards and really sink your teeth into. I have not seen a compelling storyline in quite some time for AEW. And it's challenging, bro. It's challenging to watch AEW because sometimes it's so fucking bad that it's really hard to be really, entertained by what's going on and really be enthused to watch the show, because you know that every single week, week in and week out, they just don't give a shit about story. They don't give a shit about the direction of the company. They just, it's going nowhere. And like I said, for last night's episode, I mean, they destroyed one of the biggest reunions in pro wrestling history. One of them, with Edge and Christian. You know what I mean? We get it at Cincinnati in front of maybe, 1,500 people. When we have All Out taking place in about roughly 5 weeks, taking place in, I believe, Toronto, Canada. You know what I mean? Like, savor the moment, bro. Let it marinate a little bit until we get to All Out. You know what I mean? No, we're getting Copeland and Christian against Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian at Forbidden Door. Right off rip. Meanwhile, there's been no dialogue between these guys except for Copeland telling Christian, hey, go home and go find yourself. That is it. That's it. Yeah, we had Christian cut that promo. He mentioned Copeland for a split second. But majority of that promo that he had for Christian was mainly about the patriarchy. Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne. Didn't really relate a whole lot to Adam Copeland. So again, let it marinate. Let's build a story between both these guys. Let's get fans invested in both Copeland and Christian again. Not just, put them in a tag team and slap them together and, you know what, we're going to go up against Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian at Forbidden Door. We got to have it. You know what I'm saying? Let it marinate, man. You're rushing the narrative, and it's shitty. These guys haven't teamed up in about 20 years. But you know what? Oh, we're just gonna team them up now. The hell with it. Well, I said the same thing about Will Ospreay. Ospreay comes out a couple weeks ago, says that he's suffering from a severe neck injury and back injury that's going to put him on the shelf for months. He might miss Forbidden Door. Then he comes out last night. He saves Darby Allin from getting his ass kicked by Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. Grabs the microphone, says that it's going to be his friends versus his friends, Jon Moxley's friends, in a lights-out steel cage match. And then we get Hiroshi Tanahashi, which, again, I don't know how he relates in this matchup, but I get why they're putting him in the match, is because Tanahashi's the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You're not going to not have Tanahashi a part of this show. So, to me, like I said, I'm gonna stand on business on this. It should have been Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley 1-on-1 at Forbidden Door. Does not need to be, 5-on-5, pretty much a blood and guts match, if you will, because it's not going to be a traditional cage. So I don't know how that's going to play itself out either. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I really don't know. And it's daunting because right now I don't know the direction of where this company's going. What I will say is the direction they're currently on right now and the pace that they're going right now is just not good, man. There's no sense of direction. There's no long-term booking. There's no sense of direction. And nothing for the fans to really truly get behind of. Like I said, Forbidden Door-wise, I mean, the one match that I'm really excited for on paper right now would be MJF versus Adam Page for the AEW World title. That's it, right now on paper. Which is a shame when you got 13 to 16 matches on the entire card. I just can't get behind them right now. I just can't. You know, and like I said, as far as AEW, man, I don't know if there is going to be a reset button. I don't know if there's going to be something where they hit the reset button and start over and they bring some new life back into AEW, or is this going to be the best that we get for the foreseeable future for AEW? And right now, that's the way it's looking. And if that's the case, and we keep going the route that we're going currently right now, AEW is not going to last forever, man. It's going to have its time, and it's going to fold if it keeps going the way it's going. Absolutely. Because people are going to get fed up. They're going to get fed up paying the money for pay-per-views. They're going to get fed up with going to these bullshit shows because there's no sense of enthusiasm in these shows. There's no sense of direction with these shows for the fans to get invested in that are spending their money to buy a ticket for a seat at one of these AEW events. Meanwhile, they're spending all this money, and what's the result? Okay, that was a decent match at best. There's no compelling storylines that get us invested. There's no 5-star classic matches every Dynamite or Collision. No. There's not. You know what I mean? So obviously things with AEW desperately needs to change, and hopefully AEW finds a way to hit the reset button and we go back to what brought us to the dance. You know, we invest in the tag team division, we get that back in order. We build future contenders and we build up the younger talent to be the future of AEW, because if you're not going to do that, then you shouldn't be in the wrestling business to begin with. And secondly, if you're not going to do that, then this company is eventually going to be done. Sold, bought out, or just completely just done, and all the rest of the talent are going to be seeking new employment, whether it's TNA or WWE or going back to New Japan, because AEW unfortunately struggled so bad that they couldn't get above water. You know what I mean? Like I mentioned earlier with the Time Warner and Warner Media deal, when the time comes for AEW to negotiate new TV rights deal, I wouldn't be surprised if Warner Media and Time Warner came at a lower number financially than what they did for this current TV deal. Because to me, AEW hasn't earned it. They haven't done anything to really spark interest in the company, bring new fans into the company, write compelling storylines. It's the same old shit week in and week out, and fans are just getting tired of watching it, man, because we're getting the same shit every single week. We want something different. We want something new. We want something that's going to be compelling enough to get eyeballs on the product and get fans invested in AEW. I feel like if Tony Khan were to do that, your ratings will be up a lot more. You might be able to go back to selling out arenas. Fans will be in tune on what the hell is going on because they're genuinely excited and genuinely invested in that specific match or moment that happens in AEW. But that's not the case right now, man. All we're doing is getting matches. That's it. And trying to get this very, very slow build towards this year's Forbidden Door, which, like I said, looks like it's going to be a stacked card. But like I said, at the end of the day, I'll take quality over quantity any day of the week. So we're going to see how the next couple of weeks play out leading up to Forbidden Door, and hopefully Forbidden Door does not disappoint this year. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe.